Santa's helpers. Way up in the North Pole lives Santa, of course. And they're in his workshop as Santa's workforce. They're 9 little elves who work hard every day, creating the treasures that fill Santa's sleigh. There's Fricky and Flimflub, Gulbert and Flux, Clotworthy, Glibberstein, Walworth and Snooks. But the littlest elf is the star of the show. He's everyone's favorite, Billy Bobo. Now, Billy Bobo is a great friend to all, with so many good friends, gigantic and small. He chats with the penguins and talks to the whales. He visits the walruses, dolphins and snails. They're very good friends, and there's so many more that live in the sea and along the seashore. Yet none of the other elves ever have seen his 2 very best friends, Poonor and Mukeen. Each day Billy visits these mystery friends, who live by the sea where the great river ends. He jumps on his skis and then scurries away, when his work is all done at the end of the day. Some elves say they're sea lions, some think that they're birds. Some say that they're creatures that run in great herds. But Billy just chuckles at their guessing games. His friends are a secret, except for their names. One gray autumn day Santa said to his elves, "I'm going away, you'll be all by yourselves. I'm taking the sled dogs and Mrs. Claus too, so watch over things, I'm depending on you. We're visiting Inuit friends far away, and won't return home for the rest of the day. If all goes as planned we should be back by 9. Don't worry," said Snooks. "The workshop will be fine." But not very long after Santa went out, the workshop was disturbed by a terrible shout. "The wolves have returned," Fricky said with great fright. "And Santa won't be back until late tonight." "Oh dear me," said Walworth, his face turning blue. "With Santa away, what on earth will we do?" "Quick, let's take a roll call," Clotworthy then said. So they stood side by side for a count of each head. There was Fricky and Flimflub, Gulbert and Flux, Clotworthy, Glibberstein, Walworth and Snooks. But at once, in a panic, they searched high and low. For one elf was missing, Billy Bobo. Then they looked out and saw those wolves darting around, and their terrible howls made a blood-curdling sound, as they rushed toward the barn where each one of them tried to get to the terrified reindeer inside. And since reindeer only can fly in December, they couldn't escape on that day in November. And all they could do was to frantically wait, and hope Santa Claus wouldn't get there too late. The wolves knocked and kicked at the wobbly barn door. They gouged and they pulled and they rammed and they tore, while the reindeer inside the barn gathered in fear and desperately wished Santa soon would appear. But then, all at once, with a twist and a sway, the tattered and flimsy old barn door gave way, and the wolves stepped inside and they howled with delight as the poor terrified reindeer trembled with fright. Then Fricky cried out, "We must do something now. We'll fight and we'll rescue the reindeer somehow." So he pulled out a log from the fireplace and dashed to the barn where he swung and he stabbed and he lashed. And each of the other brave elves did the same. And the wolves became startled, in fear of each flame. But slowly they crept and began to draw near to the elves who had clustered together in fear. Then, little by little, the torches grew weak and the largest wolf grinned and he started to speak. "My brave little friends," he said, "there is no doubt that the flames in your small torches soon will go out. And when they do, my little friends, have no fear that many more, just like us, soon will be near. For word will be sent from the west to the east, inviting all wolves to our reindeer elf feast." Then all of those evil wolves started to howl. And soon the elves heard other wolves on the prowl. For their horrible shrieks were heard mile after mile and the head wolf looked on with his sinister smile. His mouth watered as he admired his prey while the flames, one by one, slowly faded away. And soon the last torch flickered out and was gone, and the poor elves all feared that they'd seen their last dawn. They stood and they clung to each other in fear. As the dreadful wolves started to slowly draw near, they howled and they slobbered while slowly they crept. Then little by little, more quickly they stepped. And then, in a frenzy, they started to charge led on by the head wolf, whose teeth were so large they were inches away with their mouths opened wide. When the sound of a distant horn came from outside, the wolves stopped at once as they heard that faint sound, and the evil head wolf turned himself all around. Then he peered at a group that was now drawing near, and suddenly he began howling with fear. For there, on his skis, was the small missing elf who had come to the rescue, but not by himself. Alongside of Billy Bobo could be seen his two very best friends, Pphra and Mauj. The elf had been visiting his secret friends far away, by the sea, where the great river ends. When suddenly they'd heard the wolves' distant cry, and the three friends took off in the wink of an eye, and now Billy's mystery had become clear as everyone saw the three friends drawing near. And the wolves became frozen with petrified stares. Billy's mystery friends were two great polar bears. Then the two bears let out with great deafening roars, that shook up the mountains and rocked the seashores. And the wolves slipped and tripped and collided as they very desperately tried to get far, far away. For they knew, against polar bears, they were no match, for even their sharp teeth would not make a scratch. So they fled from the North Pole, the whole dreadful pack. And everyone knew they would never come back. Then just before 9 o'clock Santa returned and shook with surprise and great joy when he learned all about the elves' valor when he was away, and declared a great party be held the next day. And many friends came, some from far, some from near, to hear of the rescue of Santa's reindeer. And the great honored guests were Pphra and Mauj, and next to the great bears, 9 elves could be seen. There was Fricky and Flimflub, Gulbert and Flux, Cloutworthy, Glibberstein, Walworth and Snooks. And there, next to Santa, his face all aglow, sat the littlest hero, Billy Bobo.